Welcome you to Porch Talk. This is your host, Alan, and this is a Skype call, and I am calling out to the Buffalo, New York area for the one and only Fuzzy from Fuzzy and the Rustbelts. We got some catching up to do. Buddy, how goes it up in the Northeast?
Greetings, my friend, and cheers to you.
Right on. You're doing better than I.
Hey, I'm doing a Genesee Ruby Red Kolsch. It's
a fine pisser, as some say. I got a Miller Lite.
I like a good old Miller Lite. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's one thing that we say about the local art freaks around here. Whenever you're putting on a show, is make sure you bring something cheap enough for our college art students to have to drink.
Yeah,
because Lord knows they're broke.
It's a step above Natty Ice, so it's good.
It's not a big step, but it is definitely a step in the right direction.
It's true.
Well, man, it's been real crazy, and I wanted to start out with just talking a little bit about how this friendship has grown. So we met each other through NPR Tiny Desk concert series about 3 years ago now.
Is it that long?
Yeah.
Damn. Well, hey, all right.
Yeah. Cheers to that, right?
Yeah, cheers to that.
And so just through that Facebook group that we all got thrown into, every participant that was in Facebook, I made a post like talking, hey, I got a podcast I call Porch Talk. I love musicians, want to talk to them about what they do and why they do it. And you knocked on my door. And ever since then, I've really believed in what you've been doing. And it's been great to share your story and your music with listeners of the show. And man, I think this is number 4 for you, if I'm not mistaken, of being on the show.
Yeah, it's cool because, I don't know, right at that time, I think you were just getting Porch Talk going. Fuzzy and the Rustbelts was just starting to chug along. And so it's kind of like your podcast and our band have kind of been moving along the same parallel in a different universe, so to speak. So it's been really cool to just see you and how your program has grown, at the same time. And it's really great content you got putting out there.
Yeah, it's speaking of content, speaking of songs, I've really been impressed with the things that I've been seeing that y'all are up to on top of the releases of new songs and what y'all have had going on, dude. And we've got some catching up to do. I wanted to jump out of the gate and kind of set you back a little bit. I've never asked you this.
Oh boy.
We've talked, and we've talked a little bit about, how Fuzzy and the Rustbelts started, and you may have to allude to this as you answered this question, is when did you really start taking it serious as far as, well, this is something that I really want to do, and if you're going to be in this band, here's what I require. What did that look like?
I think the seriousness began once the recording was done, and we were going to have an album release show. And I took it serious. I wanted it to be, the best, show that we could possibly do, because it was first impressions, right? And so after that album release and what a success it was, I had done the WRK thing and, came in second for that year. But it wasn't really until February when we got a little bit of a taste of being on this huge stage with Mitchell Tenpenny, Rodney Atkins, and Maddie and Tay. And it was yeah, I kind of like this. This is neat, So, we continued, having weekly rehearsals, even if it was nothing to rehearse but the same songs just over and over again, and you just woodshed it, and it just kept going up and up. And I have a friend of mine that I was bouncing ideas off, and he kind of guided me and tell me what's a good idea, what he thought was a bad idea. And, you know, I'd put things to the test, especially with social media. And I think like 2019, you know, there were certain things that were popular then that now not so popular, like memes were all the rage, right? So
right.
like started using memes to promote shows, and it was a great way to, you know, gain some traction online. And, you know, it just kept snowballing throughout the year. And, you know, I've always been real passionate with music ever since I was a kid and in high school. And, you know, it's a love of mine. And being able to do that now in my late 30s, you know, it's awesome to be able to do it again and at the level that it's been at. Totally unexpected. I wish this would have happened 20 years ago, kind of thing. But
Yeah, right.
it's great. I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Yeah, and so what kind of room are you setting when it comes to practice with the band members? Of do you ever have to have that one on one to where like you're not bringing the right energy, you're not putting enough time in, like do you ever have to have those conversations?
Not really. I mean, on occasion, you know, I'll ask a member, you know, is everything okay? Like, are you doing all right? You still digging what we're doing and what we're getting at, and all that kind of stuff. I've had a lot of extensive conversations, um, but nothing where like I've had to, you know, hey, we're gonna do this or you know that kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I kind of um, go in with an approach that, um, you know, I don't want to be, you know, a total dick. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we're all, you know, we've all got families, everybody's got jobs, and this is supposed to be something that we all love because that's why we're here. You know,
Hmm.
we basically all our money that we make from a show, we put in an envelope and we save it, you know, or, you know, put in an account or whatever. And we save that money so that we have money for our website. We have money to buy merch. We have money to, you know, pay for the next album and promote it and all that stuff that comes along with it. It's expensive. You know, I mean, I look at like even my website costs. It's like almost $400 a year, you know,
Hmm.
so it's cool. Like no one is got an ego so big as, you know, I've worked with some people. It's like, well, I got to make a minimum of $100. And it's like, okay, but you got a really good job. Like, let's like try and feed the band. You know, it doesn't make any money, especially in original music. You know, we're not a cover band, so we can't go, um, you know, playing all over the place and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it really, it's great that we're all on board being able to pool our assets together.
yeah, I mean, and that's really some of the heartbreak that I hear, and that's really why I posed that question just out of the gate was I don't think it's about going into music for the wrong reason, but like a lot of times it seems to me that when a band gets going, um, some members in the band, whether it be the front man or maybe the lead guitarist, they begin to take it a little bit more serious than other members, to where it's not so much of a heart project as it is to something that they can see as a means to an end,
Right.
even though they might be putting the cart before the horse a little bit. Like, I believe it's great to be realistic about the band go, but it's
Mhm.
also important to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Right.
And I don't think you don't really want to reach too high, so to speak, but um, you don't want to push what's working harder than what it's already working.
Right. Yeah. I mean, realistic expectations.
Yeah.
That's what you got in front of you. It's taken certain objectives, certain goals. What do we want to do this year? You know, okay, we want to put out an album for 2023. Okay, how are we going to get there? Well, we need to make money. Okay, well, we're going to book these gigs. May not like this one gig in particular, but hey, it pays pretty good. And, you know, if we can gain some Instagram followers and some Spotify listeners from that, that's all the better. Maybe we can sell a couple $100 in merch too. And,
Hmm.
you know, we do that. And that's what we've been doing this summer. But we've had a string of wonderful shows that we've played, and we've enjoyed the hell out of them. And Um, but our expectation is to, okay, let's generate some income so that we can go into the fall, get into pre-production for this album. And then also, while we're doing that, search for a producer and a studio that we want to record at. Whether it's going back to Old Bear or GCR, we don't know yet. Who we're going to use as a producer, we're in the search right now. But then, getting into, the new year, January slow, February slow, we'll grab a few gigs there. Maybe they don't pay as much as we want. It's just to keep our minds fresh and keep the juices going. But and then get into some recording. Realistic expectations. And then, I know that spring and summertime are going to be busy here in Western New York. And, do we want to stretch out a little bit and become more regional? That's stuff we got to look at, but you got to research it too.
That's right.
And because travel costs money, even if it's, 60, 70 miles east or west of here, it still costs money. We want to, be able to, whoever's driving, we want to be able to feed the gas bill.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just within the region that we're in with Cosmic Gravy right now is we're based in like Meridian, Mississippi. And when you think about Alabama, Mississippi, these music towns are fairly spread out. Like you have to drive an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour. And it may be like a weekend stretch, and you become somewhat of a road warrior over the weekend just to make these gigs connect. But you can play that Friday or Saturday night show, and you can execute that perfectly for those same reasons. But at a point in the execution, with as high as gas prices are, it's like, well, not only do we have to factor in we're doing it for the love of music, we also have to be able to cover our gas, and we also be able to put things back for the band. And that becomes a bit of a tedious process. It's a fairly you like to pretend you don't do it for the money, and then like right when an obstacle like that pops its little ugly head up, you'd be like, well, maybe we do just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, realistic, right? You're being realistic about it. In order to do the thing that you love, you still need to be able to fund it, And while we're not all taking home a paycheck here, we're feeding the band account so that we can fund things, And so that's how we look at it. And that's how I've looked at it for a lot of years, going all the way back to high school and college. We used to do the same thing, and it's for the love of music, do it. And that was one of, I think, the big things that I wanted to make sure when we were putting this band together is, everybody was in it for the reasons that we love music and we love to.
Yeah, and it's it just really, you constantly reality check yourself when it comes to things like that. And we've gotten a little haughty toward one another at times. We just recently had a practice, and the main thing of the theme of the practice was everyone is given 100%. And like my takeaway, although I agreed with it, was if we take the social aspect out of this, if this is just a performance, I'm a little bit scared of that because we're going to miss the actual social aspect of it. Like, I want to be professional in the way that we sound and that we're hitting the correct notes and we're providing the right vibe. But what about in those set breaks? What about in the after show? Like, are we that strict to where we're really not going to uphold ourselves to the reason that we were there playing for the crowd to provide entertainment?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's important now what you do before and after a show and how you present yourself. I mean, and you can hold that at so many different, professions, just the way your character, is laid out. You got a person, you have character or you don't. And you want to have good character when you're working with people and especially with venues and with fans and stuff like that. And one of the things I always say at the end of the show is, hey, you know, we're going to be over near the merch table. Stop on over. We'd love to connect with you. You know, and I guess it's one of those little things I caught from church. You know, we'd love to connect with you. You know, but you know, it's inviting, right? So and it makes people feel comfortable, and you become approachable that way. And so that's something that we try to do. And but you know, as far as like shared responsibility, I know there's more weight on my shoulders, you know, and I do a lot of stuff, right? But, you know, as my cousin always says, this is more of my baby than his, you know. He loves it. He likes doing it. But at the same time, you know, I'm the guy putting out the posts, you know, and doing a lot of stuff. Just recently, it's hard for me to let go of the ring. It's really hard for me. And I've had this conversation with Mandy a bunch of times. And so she's just started our TikTok account, and she's going to be managing that.
We just started.
Did you?
And that's where a bit of like inner strife came from for us, was because we began to see some numbers that we had never seen from Instagram or Facebook. And, you know, you're talking about 100 times or maybe 1,000 times more of engagement.
Right.
And my fear was, don't let these numbers and inflation get in your head, and don't allow this to think that we're more than what we are in the moment. Like, this is a different age demographic that we're hitting. You're reaching younger people is what you're doing.
Right.
Like, the younger people are not on Facebook. They're not on Instagram. Like, that's our age group, a little bit younger, a little bit older. But like TikTok, that's where the teenagers are.
Yeah.
And so it is important to, I believe, as someone who is in music or in any kind of sphere, whether it be podcasting, to have some engagement on TikTok, just because that's a whole demographic of people that's the best way to reach them.
Yeah.
Are you'll find them.
Yeah, it's amazing. Mandy, she put up a video, and overnight it had like 1,000 views, like within 7 hours. You know, and I'm like, holy cow, like that's the power of TikTok, you know. And so I'm like, all right, we'll have to start generating this type of content more. You know, but it's time consuming too. I mean, making content is time consuming. And for me, it's a struggle, right? Because do I write a song or do I create content for the week? And, you know, it's setting priorities, you know, and realistic expectations on where I want to be in a year, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And then when it comes to question of content, it's like, just with Porch Talk Media, it's like I'll pull up like bits from old sketches that we've done in years gone by that we never released, and just release it like it's something brand new. And it gets away with itself as like a form of comedy and just trying to relate with you for 15 seconds to make you smile. And that works well for me. But like, if I was given time each day versus putting work into Porch Talk or songwriting or into practicing for Cosmic Gravy, I'd be giving up something that I didn't need to be giving time up for. And who knows if it's even fruitful.
Right.
Because TikTok for me, and like, it's hit or miss, is like, because I don't know what they're into.
Right. Yeah. It's, again, it goes down to the research and looking into, you know, what's the average, you know, length of video and the average time spent on a video. What's interesting? What are the popular hashtags of the month? I mean, like, there's so many things that you got to look into. It's nuts. So it's fun. It can be fun, and you can really dive into a lot of rabbit holes.
Oh yes.
But you know, at some point though, I got to tell myself, put the phone down. You know, you can just get all consumed with it.
Yeah. And so to step away from just something that just someone listening who may have just formed a band or is like on the verge of like what we're talking about, to a more personal, is what in the world has Fuzzy and the Rustbelts been up to?
What have we been up to? Well, so we had a little bumpy start 2022. Everybody got COVID again. And so that took a bunch of months off. Butch had a baby, so he took some time off. We did some recording at the beginning of the year. So we put out back in May. Mandy actually led this single called The Way You Move. And we were really excited to put it out. What's that?
I've got a question for you about that, by the way.
Okay. Well, that song came out of a late night writing session over text message, believe it or not. And I was sending her little voice memo clips. What do you think of this? What do you think of that?
Mm-hmm.
We went forth on lyrical ideas and concepts and stuff. And it was just cool. Within like 3 hours, we ended up putting the song together. But like anything, it took a year and a half before we recorded it. And it was cool though, because I was sitting there, I'm writing it, I'm singing it, and I'm like, yeah, I like it, but I wonder if Mandy sang it, if it would sound the way I hear it. And it popped when she started singing it.
The power of Mandy.
Yeah. Yeah. This is awesome.
So my question, which I'm glad you alluded to the story of the song, but as you may know, that I'm getting ready for Porch Talk Volume 2.
Okay.
And cool to have a little Fuzzy in the Rust Belt with a female-led Amanda Joy. If there might be any interest.
Okay.
We can talk about more later.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, just to and I've been pitching that idea because with Porch Talk Volume 1 out, I'm really proud of that work. And with Volume 2, I really want to blow some people's socks off.
Sure.
And I believe maybe we've done that, but I was like, these girls really can do something you probably aren't aware of.
Yeah. Or female singers on Volume 2.
That's right.
That's about. Okay, gotcha. Cool. I like that.
And then Volume 3 is going to be collaborations.
Okay.
And so that would open up, a maelstrom of things that could happen.
Yeah.
Like I say, we'll talk about that some more a little bit down the road when time comes. But sure. Just with some of the events and things that y'all have had some cool opportunities just in the past, and there's some cool ones upcoming. So tell us a little bit about just some of the festivals and things that y'all been up to.
Yeah, we had a busy August. Actually, even in July, we played one of our favorite places was West Falls Center for the Arts, and had a great crowd there. Really great people who own that place. And then a couple weeks after that, we hit a string of festivals. Buffalo's Country Music Festival, the Howl in the Hills Festival, and what else do we do? Rockstock, the Eden Corn Festival, which is really close to my heart because I grew up in Eden, New York. And dude, it was so cool to just, play in my hometown, everybody's laughing at me, but dude, it was a fantastic time. We had a great crowd. It was hotter than hell outside. Oh my gosh. If you look at some of the photos, I don't know if I put like a start of the show photo and an end of the show photo. I was wearing a brown shirt. It was black by the end of the show. It was fully soaked.
Not a dress.
And it was so hot out. Oh my gosh. It was brutal. It was like 92, and I think like the humidity was like, I don't know, 70 or 80%. It was like, what, in Alabama?
Yeah, dude. We just had some of the more recent shows I played, and you can play inside or outside this bar, and I couldn't believe for that evening I was playing outside because it was a rather hot evening, and you usually get put inside if the crowd isn't what it should be, and the crowd wasn't what it should have been, and I was like, I'd really like to play just inside, just
Yeah,
for not only save face, but just to save myself sweating my balls off.
yeah.
And it wasn't given to me, so I just played outside. But yeah, it's like uh, Mississippi, Alabama right now, buddy. If you're outside, within 30 minutes, boy, you're roasted.
Oh, dude, it's a sweat fest, man.
Oh yeah,
You know, like
and
when I
they
was down in Virginia for a little while near DC, and dude, you walk outside and it's insta sweat, like the waterworks.
yeah.
It's messed up. I'm like, this is stupid. No way. Like, I'll come and visit. It's too freaking hot, man.
Yes, it's just too much. Well, dude, we've talked a little bit about songwriting process just through the way that you and Mandy related back and forth about the song that she led. I wanted to ask something more personal about Fuzzy and the Rustbelts, and I think we've hit a little bit on it. But when y'all get together, how do you lead a practice? What does a Fuzzy and the Rustbelt practice look like?
It depends on what the priority is at the time. But I mean, I would say the majority of the time, if we're going to be doing some writing, um, you know, we'll go around the room. Everybody will pick a song. We'll rehearse it quick just to warm up. So we'll do like 6 songs and then we'll get into new material. Um, if we're rehearsing for a show, we'll rehearse that set list 2 or 3 times, as if we're in a show. So, you know, on my set list, I've started to put little reminders and notes on there of what to talk about, what to, pitch your merch, all that kind of stuff. Mandy leads this, or Newt starts the song off, that kind of stuff, these little reminders, and even tuning reminders too. It's like, take a breath, tune, you know,
You just reminded me of something else I wanted to ask you about,
that.
because I was going back and listening to the first album
Yeah.
of y'all, and as far as the work done, like I guess it was one thing I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention to, Fuzzy, was uh, you did spend a good amount of time with the intro and outro of a song. Like, it's not like a singer songwriter song to where you play a measure or two and you just kick in, but like it seemed like, maybe your cousin had a good guitar lick to add to it before you got going, or
Right.
there was something going on immediately with the song to let you know this is that song.
Right.
Of Did that come from like studio work, or did that just come from like listening to music over the years? Like, just to have that kind of ear on the ground for like, well, I really don't want this to sound like I recorded it right out of my bedroom.
Right. Well, like with that Sweet song,
Mm.
for instance, intro, that. So originally it was just what you would hear the start of the verse being. And Carl, who produced it at the time, he wasn't yet, performing yet. He was just recording. And he was listening to it. He's like, what if we took, uh, the lick that Butch is playing and move it into the intro part before you start out singing, and then that way it's not as repetitive, and you have like a nice intro that once you hit that first note, everybody knows what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Carl was a big influence for some of the intros on that album. um, you know and as far as other things, I think they, I don't think I ever set out um, for it to just start the way it did. I think it just, organically just happened that way for some of them. But I do think of that now. It's like that's in the back of my head every time I'm putting out a song.
Yeah.
You know,
I, it truly is important. And, that remark was recently brought up to me, was like, when you're thinking about a song, it's not only so much with uh, the strength of the lyrics or a good melody. It's like you really need to envelop the audience right out of the gate with some
Right.
kind of little earworm.
Right.
And
Right. Yeah, even in the way. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying, even in our song "The Way You Move," the drums kick it right up, and we're right in.
Yeah.
Just those little things. And before that happened, it was me for 2 measures playing the intro, and then the drums came in, and we were listening to it. And I asked our engineer. I said, "Hey, could you just cut it right to the drums and let's just hear how it sounds?" And he did it, and I'm like, "That's it, right there."
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just wild how things come together. And so, just to talk a little bit about what's down the pipe for Fuzzy and the Rustbelts, what have y'all got in the bag? And this might just be for our local Buffalo listeners. I know there's some shows coming, but what about for those who are engaging you on social media, or whether it be Spotify, or maybe they want a record? What's down the line for them?
All right, so here's what we got. Since July, we back over COVID, we were part of that Band Together Buffalo program. It was like a online television kind of competition. All the musicians and bands throughout Buffalo got together, and one of the prizes that we won was to go to GCR Audio, which is owned by Robbie Tatek. He's one of the Goo Goo Dolls, and so his studio in Buffalo is called GCR Audio. And so we went there, we recorded 6 live tracks in studio. We only had 2 shots at it. So if you messed up the first time, you couldn't mess up the second time. So we did all these live tracks. We got 5 really good ones with 5 music videos. So it's awesome. So we have content now through the end of the year. So this Friday, we're going to be releasing the live version of our song "Ship of Fools." So,
and that's a new track.
I'm sorry?
That's a new track, if I'm not mistaken, right?
"Ship of Fools"?
No. That was on the first.
Yeah. They're all previously recorded songs.
Okay.
But these songs, it's weird because, like, I look at it, we kind of cover the songs from our album now. Like, it feels like we're just covering because we've changed them a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the that is really the work of a song, right? Is like, that's so perfect that was brought up, Fuzzy. I was having this conversation about how a song evolves, and
Right.
and how a song really molds and shapes into itself. And so I love to hear different iterations of it being recorded as it lives, because it generally changes over time.
It sure does. And this is totally different. Like, there's a whole new intro that we do live as opposed to what the album version sounds like. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that to come out. Then in October, we're going to be releasing the live version of American Tattoo. That has way more drums in it. It's really, really special. Different ending. And then the Flatlander will be out in November as well. And that, if you've listened to the album, it's just me solo acoustic. This full band for the Flatlander, and Mandy's on harmonies for this whole second half of the song. It's awesome. I can't wait to release it. So we've got those to look forward to. And then December, we're gonna release all 5 of them together as a compilation, and just have that out there. So we've got content all the way through the end of the year with videos, and working on new content as well. In the meantime, we are in pre-production and writing a new record, and so we're excited for that. Yeah, got some cool songs, a little bit different vibe. It's 3.5 years later, so it's a little bit different, but it's very much still Fuzzy and the Rustbelts. So
that leads into, okay, so I'm walking this bad boy out of the door.
Okay.
So I got 3 questions for you, Fuzzy.
All right.
Is question number 1 was, with the Mulligan Year that we will call COVID,
Yeah.
and you just answered a bit of it. Was that a band? Was Fuzzy and the Rustbelts a band that was in a cocoon, or was that something that they were spending time, I guess, uh, really changing and coming out as a butterfly, or like were y'all kind of just stuck?
I was stuck. I had a hard time writing that year. I don't know if it was just because we were homeschooling the kids too at that time. So like there was very little time to just sit, and I was like spent mentally during the whole thing. So
Mhm.
yeah, I had a hard time writing, and so I gained some weight over that time too, and
Me
I
too.
know that. Yeah. Well, I'm losing it. I've lost 30 pounds, and
I've got to start that.
but I find that I get more creative if I'm healthier. If I'm making sure that I'm getting my body moving, it's all those good chemicals flowing in my brain, and I think better and I write better and just feel better overall. So right now it's really interesting because I'm starting to notice a flow more, and put together some really cool songs that I'm looking forward to putting out. There's one song Mandy challenged me to write a love song because I don't really write love songs. And so I kind of really had to go back to the well on that and go to because it's hard. It's not easy. Like love songs, it's either, a bunch of BS, or you got to figure out something genuine that really, because I think if it's genuine to you, it's going to be genuine to the audience, right?
Yeah.
So I had to go back and to original heartbreak. And that first real heartbreak that you have is like a teenager, whoever it was. And so I went back and I really tapped into that lyrically, and it's a ballad. Carl had a really hard time with it at first. He's like, "Are we selling?"
Still need a ballad.
Yeah, it is. It's a ballad, but you know what? It's great. It's beautiful. I can't wait to put it out. So, we got that. We got a couple traditional kind of country songs. A really kind of neat song called "Adore." That's pretty. It's got this little Spanish kind of feel to it, and it's pretty sexy in the whole vibe that it's got going. So, it's fun. This is a fun process right now, and I'm having a lot of fun writing this next album.
Right on. Question 2. Tell the listeners where they can connect with you on social media.
Well, you can always check us out, fuzzyandtherustbelts.com, and you can link into everything there. But if you're not a web surfer, go to Facebook, Instagram. You can go to Twitter or TikTok and type in Fuzzy and the Rustbelts. On Instagram, it's Fuzzy and the Rustbelts Official. We were hacked, so the original Fuzzy and the Rustbelts account.
I remember that.
Oh, it pissed me off. So Fuzzy and the Rustbelts Official on Instagram. Everything else, check out, just write Fuzzy and the Rustbelts, will pop right up. Same thing with Apple Music and Spotify and Amazon.
And right on, question 3. To walk it out the door, what was your favorite part of this interview?
My favorite part of this interview was, one, seeing your face for the first time right here on Skype.
Yeah.
Fuck, right? It's kind of a whole different experience.
Got to interact with you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We get a little FaceTime here. But no, that aside, I enjoy talking about realistic expectations, and how to have goals and realistically achieve them, and take small steps to get to those goals. I try not to have long-term goals with a band, because you get into the weeds, man. It's like, all right, that long-term goal is to play Madison Square Garden. Well, you know what? Let's just focus on playing this big club here in my hometown.
Yeah.
You know, that's, small steps.
That's something that's really been on my heart, and I was glad that we were able to connect to have this conversation because you, Fuzzy and the Rustbelts, is a band that I respect, and y'all come from the opposite side of the country in the Northeast, and we could talk about the same issue that we're having with bands down here. And when I'm talking to these bands, to these front men or whatever member of this band it is, it's like, let's not get so far ahead of ourselves.
Right.
Let's not think too much of ourselves. Let's just a day at a time, okay? Now, it is important to be critical. If you don't believe that someone is giving all that they can give, yeah, we should definitely call that out. But we should definitely be realistic about what we're pursuing.
Yeah, and you know, whatever it is that your genre or your style or whatever that you're putting out there, you know, that's who you are. That's who your identity as a band, and it's so important. That's one of those things I don't bend on, you know, as far as like how Fuzzy and the Rustbelts go. We play an hour-and-a-half show. I will not do 3 hours, you know, and I put my foot down, and we lose shows because of it. I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to give you an hour-and-a-half of covers within a 3-hour set. It's not going to happen. And, you know, we'll lose some shows. But, you know, in the meantime, we're getting some fantastic shows because we're taking ourselves seriously, which is okay. Take yourself seriously. Know who you are and what you want to achieve. You know, I'm not sitting here knocking anybody. And, you know, I've done the 3-hour gigs years ago. I'm just, you know, for this project, it's an original act. And, you know, we only have so much original music to play. And so we'll do that hour-and-a-half. We'll add a few choice covers that complement our music.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and we'll play a show every 4 to 6 weeks. You know, typically. Sometimes we stack them up and they get a little back to back. But for the most part, 4 to 6 weeks, because, you know, within this area, you know, you can't be putting the same show on every weekend. People won't show up. So
that's right.
So, yeah, it's just thinking of it differently. And what do we do in the meantime? Well, we write and, you know, we try and do podcast interviews and, you know, blogs and print media and all that good stuff. You know,
you got to keep the chatter going. Even if you aren't playing shows, you got to keep the hype up, or people will forget. I mean, as bad as it is, you know, it's if you're not relevant on social media, like if you're not putting out content day by day or twice a week or whatever that looks like for you, people will forget you.
Yeah.
That's just a reality.
Yeah.
That's how short span everything is with our attention right now.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying now after COVID and being away for so long. Is, you know, we were on such a high in 2019 and it all just deflated. So we're trying to gain that back, that momentum. And, you know, we're starting to get there. I'm starting to see nice progress.
I'll tell you this, as a podcaster, like, you know, the whole COVID ordeal was good for the podcast because I got to catch up with people who would have constantly been on the road that I would have never been able to get an interview with. And now we've connected and have made other connections through that relationship. But now that the world is beginning to pick up its regular pace, it's really hard for me to like get back in stride. And so that's something, it's just imagine like the guy, like just trying to jump on a treadmill that's already going. It's like, I'm really fighting to get my speed back going, you know? Yeah. And so, man, I really appreciate you agreeing to chatting with me this evening. And it's always a pleasure and face to face here tonight. Fuzzy, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, my friend. And best of luck to you.
Right on, brother.
There you go.
Let's walk it out the door.
Cool.